Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the seven devotees. All glories to the seven devotees. All glories to the seven devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nasta Prayusha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1. Is there a bookmarker here? What is the verse today again? Chapter 7, 9. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished, text number 9. Sa Shonakuvacha Sa Vai Nivriti Nirata Savatropikshako Munihi Kasya Va Brihatim Etam Atma Rama Samabhyasat Shonakovacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarvatropik Shako Munihi Kashyava Brihati Metam Atmarama Samabhyasat Shanakovacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarvatropakshako Munihi Pikshako Munihi Kashyava Priyati Metam Atmarama Samabhyasa Shanakovacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarvatropik Shako Munihi Kasyat. What is that? Kashyava Brihati Metam Atmarama Samabhyasa. Please chant. Shanagovacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Savatropekshako Munihi Kashyavabriyati Metam Atmarama Samavyasad Sanagovacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Savai Nivritti Munihi Metam Marama Samavyavasa Shanago Vacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Savatropekshako Muni Kashyavabrayati Metam Atmarama Samavyasat Shanago Vacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarvatropekshako Munihi Kashyavabriyati Metam Atmarama Samavyasat Shanago Vacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarvatropekshako Munihi Kashyavabrayati Metam Atmarama Samavyasat Nirata Savatropekshako Munihi Kashyavabriyati Metam Atmarama Samavyasat Sanako Vacha Savai Nivritti Nirata Atmarama Samavyasat. Matajis. Savai Nivritti Nirata Sarva Petra Exo Munihi Kashyavabriyati Metam Atmarama Samavyasat. Shaunaka Uvacha. Shri Shaunaka asked, Saha, he, Vai, of course, Nivritti, on the path of self-realization. Nirita, Nirata, always engaged. Sarvatra, in every respect. Upekshaka, indifferent. Muni, sage. Kashya, for what reason? Va, or. Brihatim, vast. Etam, this. Atma Arama, one who is pleased in himself. Samabhyasat, undergo the studies. Translation. Sri Shaunaka asked Sutta Goswami. Sri Shukadev Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? Please repeat. Sri Shaunaka asked Sutta Goswami. Sri Shukadev Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. For the people in general, the highest perfection of life is to cease from material activities and to be fixed on the path of self-realization. Those who take pleasure in sense enjoyment, or those who are fixed in material bodily welfare work, are called karmis. Out of thousands and millions of such karmis, one may become an Atmaram by self-realization. Atma means self, and Arama means to take pleasure. Everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, but the standard of pleasure of one may be different from the standard of another. Therefore, the standard of pleasure enjoyed by the karmis is different from that of the Atmaramas. The Atmaramas are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Shukadev Goswami had already attained that stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means that Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study even for the Atmaramas, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayang Dadati Swapadandikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he states, Manushanam Sahasrarishu, out of many thousands among men, one may strive for self-realization. And out of all those thousands of men, those who achieve some perfection, they can hardly understand Krishna in truth. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is the literature, the great literature by which one can begin to develop an attraction for the Supreme Personality, of Godhead. There are many descriptions of great devotees who undergo the process of self-realization in order to link, or in order to meet, or in order to see, or develop a relationship with the personality of Godhead. So it's a people in general are too much engrossed in sense gratification, or they're called, like Prabhupada states here, they're called karmis. Those who are engaged in working for the welfare of the body, or they're engaged in take pleasure in so many different ways to try to find pleasure in some material affair and so on. Yesterday we were at the electrical store, and there was a TV playing on the top, and Kavi was with me, and we were purchasing these electrical items, and there are these people who were arguing, husband and wife, and the husband was having an affair, and the wife, she's there complaining, and Kavi was saying, such poor people. They're so poor, because they're trying to enjoy in this material world and trying to find pleasure, but going about it in very, very complex ways. like Prahlad Maharaj, he states that, like as soon as you begin to want to enjoy, your distresses begin. Sometimes they say the remedy is more for their distresses. It's much more difficult, to handle than the cure. So we are very much discouraged to try, to engage in this material life because of all the trouble and then the difficulties that one has to undergo in order to achieve such materialistic goals. So everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, and the standard of pleasure may be different from the standard of another. This is even the case in the spiritual world. The standard of enjoyment for one who's Krishna's friend, is greater than the standard of pleasure of, someone in Dasham. But someone in Dasham is completely satisfied in that, ras. And then the standard of paternal pleasure is even more intensely blissful than the friendship and so on up into the conjugal affairs of the Lord, where the standard of enjoyment is far more blissful. So, so in this material world, people have different propensities for working, different, to achieve material pleasure. But the Srimad Bhagavatam does not focus on that material pleasure. Srimad Bhagavatam focuses on the pleasure that one derives from the transcendental loving relationship with the personality of Godhead, the transcendental service to and the engagement, and the whole relationship with the Supreme Lord. So this is the focus of the Bhagavatam. It doesn't, it talks about the certain literatures in our shastras do describe material enjoyment, but it describes also the failure of material enjoyment to deliver the satisfaction in one's life experience. So we understand from the Srimad Bhagavatam that the highest engagement, or the savai pungsang paro dharmo, yato bhaktir hoksaje, the highest occupation, or the highest engagement, the highest engagement of the for a living entity is to engage in the service, in the loving, transcendental, devotional service of the personality of Godhead. And it has to be causeless, a hai-tuki, without motivation, a hai-tuki apratiyata. And in order to completely satisfy the self, in order to become Atmaram, in order to completely satisfy the self, one has to engage in the service of the Lord. This is the recommendation, or this is the authority of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is propounding that fact that the highest occupation of the living entity is, bhakti yoga. So this verse here is describing how Shukadev Goswami is completely satisfied in himself, but still he's attracted to the hearing or the hearing or the studying. If he's so satisfied, why is he still studying this vast literature of Srimad Bhagavatam? Because the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada states, it's about Krishna, and Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is so attractive that even the Atmaramas, I was afraid that this verse was the Atmaramas verse, that have no qualification to be discussing. Lord Chaitanya explained it explicitly in many different from different angles of vision to Sanatana Goswami, but here Prabhupada does mention. I was kind of late because I was going over that Atmaramascha Munayo verse, and it was Prabhupada just describing this verse at the end of that purport, how Sukadev Goswami, although self-realized and self-satisfied, he is still attracted to hear and study the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So to have that kind of attraction for the pastimes of the Lord, you have to have some liking, you have to have this liking. Prabhupada described some little faith, and we have to cultivate that faith, or that faith is also a synonym for faith is affection, like love. It's like in the seed form, and it has to be cultivated. So faith, Shraddha, the beginning. But people in general, they want the perfection of self pleasure. They want pleasure, and the Srimad Bhagavatam states how to get that highest pleasure, not mundane pleasure of the senses. So sense gratification is highly discouraged. The senses, you have 10 working senses, 10 knowledge, 5 working senses, and you have 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And it's recommended not to try to satisfy these senses, because they can never be satisfied. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes how sages, they avoid the sense pleasure because they know that sense pleasure is a source of misery. Maybe the mundane people, they cannot understand. It's like, for example, I'll give an example of watching television. When you're watching a movie or a TV show, there's people that they binge. They'll watch a whole episode all through the night the next day. They'll binge on these television series. They're thinking, they're going through a lot of emotions, tears are coming to the eyes, sad events, happy events, and victories. Victory is Krishna, so they can experience a little bit of Krishna victory. And so they become, tears come to their eyes. They sometimes jumping out of their seats when something, distressful or victorious goes on. So they're experiencing some emotion, and they're thinking, I'm really enjoying myself. But they cannot see how the misery is coming. They can't see how it's dulling their brain. They can't see. Even their heads are getting dull, and they're still watching and try to squeeze some pleasure out of their senses. But this is the illusion, thinking that one is enjoying it. At the same time, the brain is becoming very dark, and the whole material nature, modes of nature, are just squeezing down as you're trying to enjoy. But they cannot see that material enjoyment and that material nature is the cause of suffering. In a Buddhist philosophy, that attachment is the cause of suffering. But they can't see that being attached into these material in these material engagements is the cause of their suffering. So the path of spiritual life, we've heard it as like a razor's edge, very narrow. Even in the Bible, they say thin and narrow is the path that leads to life, and broad and wide is the gate that leads to destruction. So there was one good analogy of how this material world. The material world is like an ocean of suffering. And then you might be on a boat, in your boat of, maybe you might be on a boat of self-realization, heading on a path to particular goal. You have to navigate and you have to stay on course. If you go off, the ocean is very big and you lose your instruments, you lose your guide. Now they have GPS, but if your GPS breaks, then how are you going to know where you are? You have to know how to read sextant, how to follow the stars by their navigational sextants and so on in order to stay on course. So it becomes very dangerous, on this ocean, this material ocean, you know. Daiviyesh Gunami Mamamaya Durate. Very difficult to overcome this material ocean. But so once in Hawaii, we took a ocean trip on the Jaladuta 2, the sailboat in Hawaii, and we left in the evening. So it's dark. So we're heading onto the material ocean. We're all in the dark. If we had no sun, we could see that this material world is a very, very dark place. So with the sun, we have some light. But anyway, we were sailing out, and it was getting evening, and we were going to cross the most dangerous channel in the world, the Molokai Channel. They write books about this channel. And so it was windy. And, you're on this boat and you're going, and you know how they talk about the currents and the waves of Maya, coming. And so here we're going across on this boat, and there's ocean all around. And the wind is strong, and these waves that would come and hit the boat it was like the whole ocean was coming over, and you just go, oh my God, boom, So you have these waves of impediments towards your material enjoyment, or waves, impediments for your spiritual life, and they're coming, and there's like wave after wave would come, and we're heading across, and we're like heading into the wind, so we had to stay perfectly on course so that the sail would catch the wind and keep the boat going forward. So every time you get hit by a wave, the wave would turn the boat and turn the course, and so the sails would shift, and you had to go around in a complete circle to get back on course. This is the difficulty of material life. But here's this analogy I'm trying to express the difficulty of material life without, depending on Krishna and taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. You take shelter of your own intelligence, you take shelter of your mind, you take shelter of these senses. And here you got these waves, boom, turning you off course, spinning you around. And we get back on course. And, then you try to get some sleep. It's like, it reminds me of the forest of material enjoyment. You're going into this forest, and there's so much difficulty, wild animals, mosquitoes. And here I'm underneath in the cabin trying to sleep, and water's like coming down. I can't sleep. It's like water is dripping everywhere. And trying to, you pull something over your head so the water doesn't drip in you, but you hear it going plunk, plunk, and impossible to sleep. Then it's your turn to go back up. And it was so bad that evening. The wind was so strong, the waves were so big, that the boat started filling with water. And I remember one bhakta, he's like pumping, water. This is like a group effort, like say a whole nation, they want sense enjoyment, and so they have all these consumer goods, their ads, their everything, so that, but it's all a struggle. And I remember this bhakta, he's like pumping the hand pump, because we had no electric pump to pump the water out, so he's pumping this hand pump, pumping. I can still see him. He's just there all night, and he was pumping by hand, just totally engrossed in a miserable condition, So the boat's filling up with water, and we had to get up and go out, and then we saw all these papayas and bananas all floating in the cabin, and we had to bail water, by bucket to get the water out. Our captain, Narahari, he thought we were going to sink. It was pretty bad. So here we're like bailing water out, and I'm bailing water, and at the same time I'm throwing up, seasick, and trying to bail water. And so anyway, we finally get to the next morning, and it's calm, and we have like a doldrum, but there's these huge waves, and where we ended up, we're like maybe 200 feet from this giant cliff, like 2,000-foot cliff, right down to the sea, and these huge waves are like crashing against the cliff, and this is the material world, this type of difficulty, material enjoyment, and that's like a very harsh scene of struggle, but that's how it is, struggling with the mind. Krishna says all these living entities of mind, but they're struggling with these senses and struggling with the mind. So it's difficult. Material enjoyment is difficult. Spiritual life is also very difficult. Difficult to control the senses. We can't. You have to stay right on the path. It's like even in my work, like Prabhupada says, you can understand by nature the difficulty of material life, or you can understand so many circumstances about spiritual and material life by studying nature. So even in my work, we understand electricity. It follows a path. It's a straight path. Just like our affection, if we have our affection fixed, Krishna, and we keep that affection fixed, everything works out pretty nicely. Everything comes out pretty good. But like in electricity, it's like a straight path. But if that electricity contacts anything on the path, boom, the lights are out. The circuit breaks. So similarly, if we repose our affection into sense gratification, our spiritual life, we're back in the darkness of ignorance. So, and sometimes when that electric gets off the path, it takes the wire and welds itself to whatever it's touching, and it gets stuck there. And no matter how many times you reset the breaker, pop, the breaker goes off, the electric's out, still in the dark, can't. So the importance of staying, within, this, we have this propensity, this loving propensity. And if we misplace this loving propensity, we'll become welded in material life. You become welded in repetition of birth, death, old age, disease, 8,400,000 different species of life repeatedly for who knows how many billions and billions of years and births and so on. So it's important to understand the danger of this material world, the danger of the suffering and so on of this material world. So we have this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that he has given us this this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to deliver ourselves from this material world, and to deliver ourselves from this mold of material nature, from this suffering condition of material life. Because it is terrible. The mind is terrible. So we have to utilize, determination. We have to make determination means this mind, the symptom of the mind is determination and rejection, this accepting and rejecting, that's the symptom. So we have to learn to use, because we may not have so much, sometimes we, like Mayavadis, they become so frustrated with their loving propensities, they think that to have this loving propensity is Maya. So they deal with their, kind of psychotic, with their just mental. And they concoct all sorts of mental speculations about, advancing and making progress in life. So this mind, the symptom of this mind is accepting. So this determination means you accept what the spiritual master instructions. You accept the instructions that he gives you. You accept it, and you don't change it. Everything that is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you accept it. If it says this about men, it says this about women. You don't want to make another philosophy say, let's take all of these things about men and women out of the Bhagavatam. And no, you have to accept. That's determination. You have to, you chant 16 rounds a day. You have to accept that. That's Prabhupada said, to be able to chant 60 rounds, you need determination. Determination means you accept it. Then you get it. Then as you accept it, then you get this, you might get to the point where you begin to like it. That's the beginning of your faith. You have some appreciation for it. You like it. They have the song, I like it, I love it, give me more of it. Yeah, you hear that song? Sometimes you catch these, working with the karmis, they playing their radios loud, I like it, I love it, give me more of it. Of course they're singing nonsense. They like so much nonsense. But you apply that to Krishna, you like Krishna, you love Krishna, you want more of Krishna. Just like Shukadev Goswami, he's completely pleased, and he wants more Krishna. Give me more Krishna. Give me more. Give me more. So like that, the path is there. First we have to learn to accept what the spiritual master says as the all in all. There's nothing more important than the spiritual master's instructions. And so that we can, not make that offense, neglecting the instructions of Guru, neglecting the orders of the spiritual master. So very, very important to accept what is stated there in all of these Prabhupada's purports, his highest transcendental ecstasies. So if we do like that and chant Hare Krishna without offense, it's like there's an example of Lord Ramachandra when he was king of the world. There was all bodily and mental suffering, like disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, fatigue. These things were all completely absent during his reign, when he ruled the whole world, and there wasn't even death for those who didn't want it. It's like Kavi was telling me, he was reading the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's described how the pure devotees, when they leave the body, they don't even notice it. Imagine, so enlightened that when you leave this body, you don't even notice. This is the way to leave the body. So all of these facilities, they were existed because Lord Ram's presence as the king of the entire world. And it's said that in Kali Yuga, Kali Rupa, what is it? Kali Rama Rupe, Kali Nama Rupe, Krishna Avatar. That Krishna, he descends in the age of Kali in the form of his holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And Prabhupada states that if we chant offenselessly, Ram and Krishna, and if we chant offenselessly, Ram and Krishna are still present in this Kali Yuga, in this age. So the kingdom of Ram was immensely popular because it had that facility of no troubles, and very beneficial. And the spreading of this Hare Krishna movement, like what we're engaging in every day, spreading this Hare Krishna movement, distributing literatures and Harinams and Prasadam. So the spreading of this Hare Krishna movement can immediately introduce a similar situation even in this age of Kali. Can immediately, even in this age of Kali. So I'll read that part where when Lord Ramachandra was king of the world, there was no bodily and mental suffering, no disease, no old age, no bereavement, no lamentation, no distress, fear, fatigue. And there was no death for those who did not want it. So if we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly, we can immediately create a similar situation. So this is the wonderful benefit of this Hare Krishna movement. Very auspicious. Auspicious means the welfare for all humanity, not just, beneficial for us individually, but it's the benefit for auspicious means for all humanity. Well, the greatest welfare for all humanity. So we should go on chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, try to perfect it, chant offenselessly, and everything will be all right. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.